permanent settlements, all of them are well known and agreed upon by scholars in Israel today. Places like Hatzor and Megiddo and Jerusalem and Shiloh and Arad and Beersheba and Jericho, many of these are still inhabited until today, and they may be ruins. Jesus condemned these sites of Capernaum and Bethsaida and Chorazin, but there's no doubt, scholars know that these were real places that existed in his time, and the evidence for them is certain.
All these places that are still called by the same name, how is that possible?
Because for thousands of years there's been a continuous settlement. The local peoples have passed on the names from generation to generation.
Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Eilat, those are biblical names. We keep them for more than 3,000 years.
The fortified cities written about in the Book of Mormon have names such as Nephi, Manti, Zarahemla, Sidon, Jershon, and Bountiful, to name just a few of the more than 30 major cities mentioned in the Book of Mormon.
Because of the development of the epigraphy, we now are able to read, the ancient names of most of the sites.
You ever heard of names in like Zarahemla?
No.
Or Nephi?
A good friend once asked me, what sort of evidence would it take to convince you that the Book of Mormon was an ancient document? Right? And my response to him was, it'd be nice if we could even find cities that are similar to the ones described in the Book of Mormon.
There is no evidence as far as where Zarahemla is, which is one of the big cities that's mentioned in the Book of Mormon.
Here we are standing in Palenque today. The buildings that we see in front of us were in fact constructed several centuries after the events described in the Book of Mormon. So this could not possibly have been a Nephite city.
If a city existed like this, a big city, is it possible that there would be no archaeological evidence left at all?
No, it's impossible. In a city like Tiberias, there is plenty of evidence, like architecture, floors, small finds, objects, coins, you name it, everything.
Could a major city be conquered and not leave any of that evidence?
No way. By no means.
Years ago, I was engaged in a conversation with a Christian friend. One of the things he told me is that if I wanted to go to Jerusalem, it was easy to do still today. I could visit Bethlehem, and I could see the places where the events described in the New Testament took place. But have I ever been or heard of anyone going to Zarahemla, or to Bountiful, or to the city of Nephi? I wasn't even sure those places ever existed. And what I found in my anthropology classes is that my Christian friend was right, and the Book of Mormon was wrong.
The biblical world, as reflected in the scriptures, is matched by the plants and the trees, and we know these.
Figs, almonds, palm trees, wheat, barley.
When I read the New Testament, I see the relationship between Jesus and his world as one that represents accurately the types of animals that we find in the ancient Near East.
The animals that are mentioned in the Bible still do exist today. It's true that some are no longer existing here, such as lions, but we have explorers centuries ago that speak of these. There's no doubt, even if they don't exist today, that they did exist in antiquity.
The The Book of Mormon describes how Lehi's sons explore the land after their arrival in the Americas. 1 Nephi 18 says, "There were beasts in the forest of every kind, both the cow and the ox and the ass and the horse and the goat." 2 Nephi 12:7 says, "The land is also full of horses." And the Book of Mormon describes the use of horse-drawn chariots during massive battles involving tens of thousands of warriors. The Book of Mormon also records other aspects of the culture, including its agriculture. In Mosiah chapter 9 it says, "They began to till the ground with seeds of wheat and barley."
We would expect to find remnants of the types of plants and animals that they raised. Instead, what we find are turkeys and llamas and dogs. We find corn and beans and squash.
What we see in the Book of Mormon are all the wrong plants, things like wheat and barley in ancient America. We don't see wheat here. We don't see cattle, sheep, goats.
No horses during Book of Mormon times, no elephants during Book of Mormon times, completely absent.
The Mayas didn't have beasts of burden. They didn't have horses, for example.
The first time we saw a horse, as far as we know, was when a white man rode a horse from Albany up here in 1677.
So the stories of riding horses into battle could not have occurred in the Americas.
Both the Nephites and Jaredites are said to have processed ores and worked with many kinds of metal. 1 Nephi 18:25 says that Lehi's family did find all manner of ore, both gold and silver, and of copper.
We don't find the use of metals like gold, copper in metallurgic terms, like you see described in the Book of Mormon with references to bellows and other tools of metallurgy.
The Book of Mormon specifically stated that there was steel in the New World. It's very easy to find the places where the steel is smelted. Even if you don't find the steel objects, not a single site has been found that can be said, yes, steel was smelted here.
And what is really surprising about the Maya is the fact that they didn't use metal.
It is the lack of specific types of metal in the Americas that poses a serious problem for the Book of Mormon account, which claims that both the Jaredites and Nephites used metal armor and weapons in their warfare, metal coins for their currency, and are even described as using metal plates to write on. The heading under chapter 19 in 1 Nephi states that Nephi makes plates of ore and records the history of his people. Helaman 3:15 describes the Nephite writings saying, "There are many books and many records of every kind, and they have been kept chiefly by the Nephites."
One of the things that is said about the Nephites is that they were a culture with writing. Now, a culture with writing leaves records. And if that number of people did not leave a record, well, I don't think they existed.
And other records and accountings say that there were just, hundreds or thousands of plates and records of the people.
The idea that there could have been an empire that lasted for 1,000 years, that claimed to be literate, and for there to be no historical trace at all is extremely far-fetched.
Any indication that the ancient Americans between 600 BC and 400 AD wrote on metal plates?
No.